Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing Once Human in its minimum requirements. Now, some of you have told me that the game is actually quite intensive, but looking at the requirements, it doesn't really seem like so. I mean, on the minimum requirements, it only asks for an Intel Core i5-4460, which is a quad-core with 4 threads from 2014, 10 years ago. The RAM specification is also very low, asking for only 8 GB of it. I got it here in dual channel. And for the graphics card, it only asks for the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 750 Ti 4GB, which I don't have. I only have the 2GB model, but I do have the AMD Radeon 550 4GB model. It doesn't say 4GB, but I assume it is a 4GB model, what they're asking for. So I will be starting with the RX 550 coupled with that i5-4460 and 8GB of dual channel RAM, and then I will also test it with the GTX 750 Ti that I have, which is a 2GB model. They also say that an SSD is highly recommended, so of course I'm going to be using an SSD here, and let's try it out on the minimum requirements, shall we? Okay, so we got the minimum requirements put together now. You can see the RX 550 and MSI Afterburner with the latest AMD drivers available to it installed. You can also check out all of the GPU specs here in Tech PowerUp's GPU Z, and it's the 4GB model once again. And over in Task Manager on the left, you can see the rest of the specs, the i5-4460 as well as the 8GB of RAM, which seem to be maxing out quite a bit, as you can see there. It's 91% utilized, and it was even higher just a few seconds ago. So this translates into a pretty stuttery experience, guys. Look at this. Come on, seriously? Oh my god. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be very playable, although after a while, after it loads in the shaders or whatever, actually it compiles the shaders beforehand, but yeah, it just has a few little stutters that are completely surreal, basically, as you can see once again, for the first like minute or two of gameplay, but then it actually smooths out and it becomes decent or playable. Now, with these settings that we're utilizing at the moment, we're getting 25 frames per second. It's not really that great, but I have been playing the game for about an hour with these specs at lower settings than the ones that we're using at the moment, and it's been playable. However, every now and again, when you need to load new things, it will have those massive drops in FPS, massive stutters, and that's because the RAM is not enough, unfortunately. They list 8GB of RAM for the minimum requirements, and I mean, you can play the game, but it's swapping a lot of things into that SSD, and that's why we're seeing so many frame drops here and there. Let's go over the settings right now. I'm at 1080p resolution using the very low settings preset. The max frame rate is actually kept to 60 FPS. I'm gonna unlock that, but everything else, as you can see, render scaling set to 100%, is set to the very low preset. Draw distance still set to medium, so I'm just gonna set it to low. The VSync is disabled, as it should be, and motion blur is also disabled. All right, so now we're on the absolute lowest settings, 1080p resolution, and it's pretty much the same thing, as you can see. Yeah, 20s, it's not really feeling that great or playable. So I guess the minimum requirements here were meant for 720p resolution. I'm gonna apply that. Here we go, we're at 1280 by 720 at the moment. Things became a lot blurrier, especially at the distance, but we went from 20-something FPS up into the 40s now, and this means that it's now a playable experience. So aside from the stuttering issues, which will happen every time you need to swap things from RAM into the SSD, it is a decent and playable experience, as you can tell right here. Again, I've been playing like this for the last hour or so, playing through the prologue of the game and so on, and it is playable indeed. Although with this amount of stuttering, they should have listed like 12GB minimum, not 8, okay? Now, if you can live with the stutters, and I believe a lot of people can actually live with that, a few frame drops here and there isn't gonna hurt them, although it hurts hurts me quite a lot. I don't like it, okay? Well, you can expect a 40-ish FPS experience here with the RX 550, and that's actually minimum requirements worthy, I believe. You know, like the 554 gigabyte or GTX 750 Ti 4 gigabyte, which should be a little bit faster than this one, actually. They have what it takes to play it at 720p minimum settings. No need to utilize resolution scaling below 100%, you know, and make things even blurrier. This works quite well, in my opinion. Obviously, this is just an initial area of the game. I haven't really played it a lot yet, but yeah, it seems to be spot on in terms of CPU and GPU requirements once again. And you will definitely want that SSD, by the way, that they list in the minimum requirements as well, because if you have a hard drive and you need to swap things from RAM into the hard drive, it will become even more stuttery and even more sluggish than what we've been seeing so far here. So yeah, in the end, the 1% lows at 11 FPS, I don't think that's worthy of minimum requirements. So yeah, that RAM is definitely needing an upgrade. Fortunately though, if you have DDR3 and if you have a system like this from 10 years ago, it's going to be very, very cheap to upgrade that RAM to 16 gigabytes. So I think that's what we're gonna do next here, okay? As I told you, I'll also be testing the GTX 750 Ti 2 gigabyte model, but I'm not gonna do it with just 8 gigabytes of RAM, because once you fill up that VRAM, it starts utilizing system RAM to offload those textures and things that should be on VRAM into, and we don't really have enough RAM at the moment already. So that's why they list a 4 gigabyte GPU for the minimum requirements, okay? Because as you can see, the VRAM allocation is at 3.5 gigs and the actual usage is at 2.7 gigs. So a 2 gigabyte GPU won't be enough to prevent things from offloading from VRAM into the RAM. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna stop it right there. The 1% lows have been getting better, so it's not terrible. Okay, I was actually expecting worse, especially after seeing some of you guys' comments in my videos asking me to test this game and saying that it's not well optimized. Yeah, if it also stutters with higher end systems and gets lower FPS at higher settings, maybe it is not well optimized, but from what I'm seeing here, they've made a good job to make it playable on an RX 550. And the RX 550 is actually similar in performance to a GT 1030, so it's quite impressive, right? In terms of GPU requirements, at least. All right, let's try it with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I have it right here. It's a 2400 megahertz kit, but I will be running it at 1600 megahertz. Let's go. And here we have it, guys. We got 16 gigabytes installed this time around, 1600 megahertz still, dual channel. And as you can see right away, that RAM utilization is going over 8 gigabytes, 8.2 right now. So that means that we were indeed running out of RAM previously with the minimum requirements of 8 gigabytes. So 12 gigabytes would be ideal for sure, since it only goes over 8 gigs just a little bit, you know, but it's enough to make it stutter like crazy. As you can see, the 1% lows at the moment are so much better. I still haven't seen a single stutter here, and the frame time is also really, really smooth. So this is how the game should be played or should be running on minimum requirements, not with the 8 gigabyte stuff. That was just a terrible experience. Now I actually need to drink a little bit of water. I think it's 5 right here. Yes, let's go. There it is. I can run again. Good stuff. This is a survival game, you know, at the same time. Kind of like Ark or Rust or something, but it has some way different things. Oh my god, okay. We got a massive stutter right there. Probably just traversal stuttering this time around because it needed to load in this new area, basically. So that will happen regardless of your RAM, apparently, but it will stutter way less often right now. Oh, there's a bike right here. Oh, people are riding bikes everywhere. Look at that. I want a bike for myself as well. Can I join you, buddy? Oh my god, what is happening? Oh my Jesus Christ. Are you serious? Even with 16 gigs, I guess it was just loading this area right here, okay? Again, traversal stutter. It's not the same as the swapping RAM to the disk stutter, okay? You know what? I thought this was going to be a smoother experience and it wouldn't stutter like this when loading new areas because the game actually pre-compiles the shaders when you launch it for the first time. And yeah, I just thought that would make a big difference. Maybe it does. It would stutter way more if it didn't compile the shaders. But yeah, it is what it is, guys. At least it's playable, right? And also another thing that made me think that it wouldn't stutter too much, especially while walking around these areas and stuff, like we're seeing a flat frame time graph at the moment, and that's thanks to it not being made in Unreal Engine. Most UE5 titles stutter like crazy. This is their own engine from what I've read, okay? So no Unreal, no stutter. Let's fight these guys. All right. Did I actually take 369 damage off of them? Yes. That's perfect. Oh, this is my favorite weapon. I'm never going to upgrade this. Okay, we can also use our machete. Yes, there we go. That's probably a better idea. I'm just wasting some arrows. Oof. That was a big stutter loading the little menu here, or the items or whatever. So yeah, apparently the compilation of shaders doesn't really fix everything, unfortunately. And next up, I will try the GTX 750 Ti 2GB version, and with 16GB, it might actually not stutter too much. And here we have it. The GeForce GTX 750 Ti is installed with the latest NVIDIA drivers, and it still supports those even 10 years later, which is incredible. You can see all of its specs here in Tech Power Up's GPU Z. Once again, it's the 2GB variant, not the minimum requirements GPU, which is the 4GB. And on the left, there's the i5, there's the RAM, 16 gigs, and let's see if it's a decent experience. Now, CPU usage is at 100% this time around, probably because the 750 Ti is a little bit faster than the RX 550, so it can actually make some headroom there for the CPU to have a little bit more to do. And let's start counting our FPS right now. As you can see, it is pretty stuttery because it is swapping things from VRAM into the RAM. What the hell is this thing? Oh, 369. Let's go. 130. No, don't like to see that. 369. Yes, sir. Let's go. Nice. I got him. Okay. So if it was the 4GB version of the GTX 750 Ti, it would be as smooth, oh my god, as the 550 was with the 16GB of RAM, of course. But since this is a 2GB variant, you can see that the RAM utilization is up there at 10GB, so a lot more than what we saw with the 550, and that's because it already swapped around 2GB of things that should be on VRAM into the RAM itself. Oh, look at this, guys. We got a very nice chest in the middle of nowhere. Ooh. Okay, that's a nice little jacket that we just got. All right, I'm gonna equip that, actually. Oh boy, it just died there for a second. Well, I am confused. Did I leave it there? I don't understand. Come on, where is it? I don't know. Okay, well, let's keep on going. Maybe this guy got it. He's level 10. What level am I? I don't even know. I just started playing this today, okay? But it seems like it is a fun game. But yeah, as you can see, aside from that frame time graph being pretty terrible right now, it is somewhat playable even with a 2GB GTX 750 Ti, guys. Although, maybe not really that enjoyable because it's constantly stuttering. It's not once every minute or so like with the RX 550, at least with 16GB of RAM, of course. It is... yeah, it's every like 5 seconds or so. It's noticeable. Okay, sometimes you can get a smooth frame time graph, but it's only for a little while. So, yeah, it's not recommended to use a 2GB GPU here in this game. That's why they list 4GB GPUs. Even if you have enough RAM to offload those textures to, it's not going to work very well in terms of 1% loss. But again, it's better than the 8GB experience plus the RX 550 4GB, as you can see. Now that we're out of that area, looking in this direction especially, the frame time graph is actually smooth without any stuttering. So that's quite decent. All right, but as soon as you start attacking these guys, yeah, it just goes to hell. So no, not gonna recommend this experience. Stay away with 2 GB cards, okay? And that's been it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this look at Once Human and its minimum requirements and close to it as well. And I guess we actually found what the minimum requirements should have been. It's almost spot on, aside from that RAM requirement, which is totally crappy. Oh my god, that's a big thing right there. Should we try to kill it? We got a friend right here. He's level 4. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. Should we hit those things? Oh yes, okay. It has like more damage if we hit those things. Oh, look at him. Holy crap, that's crazy. Okay. See, it's pretty interesting, guys, this game. Alright, and it's free to play as well, which is insane. It's well optimized, aside from stuttering, but I can live with it as long as you have enough RAM and VRAM. Come on. Oh, I'm out of ammo. Okay, but as I said previously, it's pretty well optimized in terms of CPU and GPU requirements. Catch you in the next one very soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.